So today I am back at the Thiepval Memorial. We were here fairly recently, starting off this little series, Stories from Thiepval. And today we're doing the second part. We're going to be telling some of the stories of the men named here on the memorial. So welcome to part 2 of this series, continuing to tell some of the stories of the men named here on the Thiepval Memorial to the Missing. Just a few names today among the 72,000 that are named here. We're going to go find a few of these names and we're going to tell some of the stories. So the first man we've come to talk about today actually has a place very high up on face 3A here at the Thiepval Memorial. He is kind of up here ahead of me, and I don't think you're going to be able to see it on the camera. If you've got a very keen eye, you might see the name William or W. Buckingham, and you'll note that he has VC next to his name, indicating that he is the recipient of the Victoria Cross. So William Buckingham VC actually received his Victoria Cross after coming out to France in October 1914. His award was issued for actions on the 10th and 12th of March 1915, and the citation reads, "For conspicuous acts of bravery and devotion to duty in the rescuing and rendering aid to the wounded whilst exposed to heavy fire, especially at Neuve-Chapelle on the 10th and 12th of March 1915. Now, William was actually wounded during these actions, and he came home for a period of time where he worked in a recruiting campaign before returning to duty back out here in France. Now, William was actually promoted to the rank of sergeant when he returned to France, but he voluntarily stepped down from that to private so that he could just return to the front. It wasn't long after that that he was killed by machine gun fire whilst fighting in the trenches. His body was never recovered, it was lost, and that's why he's named here on the Thiepval Memorial. So the next man we've come to visit is that of John Dewsbury, named here on the Thiepval Memorial. The tragic, heartbreaking story of John Dewsbury, which I'll tell you now. The name of John Dewsbury. Now, interestingly, his name is actually spelled incorrectly and was on his military record. His name is actually spelled D-U-E-S-Bury, John Dewsbury. Now, he went into the attack of the 15th of September 1916 as part of the 2nd Sherwood Foresters. They were attacking German lines, and during the attack he was badly wounded. Now, he lay in a shell hole wounded in no man's land, and during that time he thought to take out his notebook and write a letter to his mother. John Dewsbury's heartbreaking letter to his mother reads, "I'm writing a few lines, severely wounded. We've done well, our battalion, advanced about 3/4 of a mile. I'm laid in a shell hole with 2 wounds in my hip and through my back. I cannot move or crawl. I've been here 24 hours and never seen a living soul. I hope you will receive these few lines, as I don't expect anyone will come to take me away. But you know that I've done my duty out here for 1 year and 8 months, and you will always have the consolation that I died quite happy doing my duty. Must give my best and love to all of the cousins who've been so kind to me in the time that I've been out here, and the best of love to Mother, Harry, and all at Swinefleet." Now, John Dewsbury's body was initially recovered, and that letter was recovered, thank goodness. He was probably buried in a field grave because later on his body was lost. Hence why he's named here on the Thiepval Memorial to the Missing. A man who attacked here at the Somme, lay wounded in no man's land, yet had the thought to write a letter to his mum before he died. Okay, so we have a name that we can easily see this time. Here we are looking at the name of Company Sergeant Major Joseph Patrick Hastings. He was killed here on the 2nd of July 1916 in the Battle of Somme, and it was in this area, it was during the attack on Thiepval. He was killed when he was 41 years old, and he was fighting with the 16th Battalion of the Lancashire Fusiliers. Now, we noted that Joseph Hastings was slightly older than some of the soldiers who were here, and as such, he was a career soldier. He actually first enlisted in 1891. He saw service in India, Egypt, Sudan, Crete, Malta, and during the Boer War. He was discharged in 1903, but re-enlisted on the 24th of August, serving a further 10 years. In 1913, he got married to Mary Ann Kennelly, shortly before he came out to France on the 23rd of November 1915. He was killed on the second day of the Battle of the Somme in 1916. Now, a lance corporal in his battalion actually witnessed what happened to Joseph Hastings, and the lance corporal wrote, "Whilst going over the top, he was wounded in the hand by shrapnel, and whilst he was retiring to the trench, he was hit by a bullet in the middle of the back, death taking place immediately. He was a brave soldier, cool and feared nothing. He died a soldier hero. He was always cheery and bright, and always thought well of the company, and always did his best of the lads." Joseph Hastings. Sadly, his body was never recovered, and he's named here on the Thiepval Memorial to the Missing. Now, the next man we're here to talk about is Private George Munro Mann, but we do have a slight challenge because he is another one of those names that is right up here on the front of the memorial. But the interesting story with George Munro Mann is he wasn't killed alone. He was part of a tank crew. He was killed on the 16th of September 1916. He was only 22 years old. He was killed south of Flers when his tank D14 was hit by artillery fire. The other members of his D14 tank crew, Gordon Frederick Court, Robert Baden Peabody, Lawrence William Upton, Thomas Cromack, William Henty Barber, Joseph Elliot Crow, and Andrew Charles Lawson were also killed. The actual incident itself, the tank became stuck, and Peabody and Upton got out to see if they could work out a way to avoid the obstacle that had stopped them when the tank was hit by a shell. It fatally wounded both of those men outside of the tank and killed the rest of the crew inside the tank. Peabody and Upton, their bodies were recovered. They're buried in the AIF burial ground, and the other members of the crew were lost. They're all commemorated here on the Thiepval Memorial. Now, the next man we're going to talk about is a senior officer, Lieutenant Colonel W.E. Benson of the King's Royal Rifle Corps. So here we have Eric William Benson, MC, a Lieutenant Colonel, so heading up the 9th Battalion of the King's Royal Rifle Corps. Died on the 15th of September 1916 during the fighting in Goudecourt. On the day that he died, he had defied his doctors and left hospital during treatment for an injured ankle and insisted on hobbling along before advancing with his regiment. The exact circumstances surrounding his death are slightly confused, but appear to be the result of a bullet wound to his legs, which severed the arteries. His reported last words were, "I don't mind, I'm only sorry for my people. Give them my love." Goes to show not all of these senior officers were hidden away behind the lines. Lieutenant Colonel Benson insisted on moving forwards with his men and was wounded in doing so. Killed, and his body was never recovered, and as such is named here on the Thiepval Memorial to the Missing. Now, the last man we've come to visit today is again right up high on the memorial. We're looking up to the name of Captain Henry Arthur Watt Peake. Served with the 3rd Battalion, actually attached to the 9th Battalion of the Essex Regiment. He was killed on the 3rd of July 1916 during an attack at Auvillers. He was only 25. Now, part of why we're telling his story is that Henry was the last of 3 brothers, all of whom were going to be killed during the war. So Henry Arthur Watt Peake killed on the 3rd of July 1916, but prior to that, his 2 other brothers, Cecil Gerald Watt Peake was a captain with the Lincolnshire Regiment, and he was killed in March 1915, aged only 23. Their other brother, Kenneth John Watt Peake, lieutenant with the 6th Battalion of the Lincolnshire Regiment, died on the 9th of August 1915, only 22 years old. Like so many families, there's multiple sons from the family, all 3 brothers killed during the war. So that brings to an end part 2 of the stories from Thiepval. Just a few of these episodes taking a look at some of the men who are named on the memorial to the missing here. I hope you enjoyed it, a few of these interesting stories. If you did, do me a favour, do the YouTube stuff right here on the screen. If you'd like to support the work that I do on this channel, you can do that via the links in the description. Patreon is probably the easiest and most appreciated way. I've already got a nice little community of people on there, and I really do appreciate every single one of them who support me. They help me to do things like this. Come here and remember these men and share their stories with some of you. Guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.